and welcome back to Figured Out by 25, a conversation about letting go of unmet expectations and accepting what is. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Erin from Marshall, Texas.
Oh, Lord. This what we doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Welcome back to the pod, y'all. Woo-hoo. We are on episode 6 and hope that y'all have been loving the content that we've been giving you all, having these deep conversations about things that we expect to have figured out by a certain age, especially at our big age, because we are over 25, and things that we're still figuring out as we are over 25. So we hope that you've been enjoying it, and thank you for joining us today. So today's topic on the pod, we're going to talk about chasing the bag. And as I said that, I don't think people say that anymore. I think that was like a 2020 saying, like, I'm going to chase the bag.
Well, you know, Wingstop still has bags secured on their bags, so I think we okay.
Okay.
We up there with Wingstop.
Oh, okay. We at Wingstop level. Okay, cool. Yeah, this podcast is called, not the podcast, Jesus Lord help me. The episode is called Chasing the Bag. So we're going to talk about just education. As you know or may not know, maybe we'll go into a little bit deeper. We both have our master's degrees. And so we're going to talk about job hunting, job hopping, and then also just other things that are tailored to education and career as we pursue these things. And I would say that this is the area where I felt like I had to have it the most figured out by 25, because I went to college straight out of high school, and then I graduated. I was 22. DJ and I got married at 22, and then I think I started pursuing my master's at 25, maybe somewhere around there. But I still thought that I could get like a good job with just my bachelor's. And that didn't happen. And now I'm 30 and I'm still trying to figure out what the dream career looks like. And like I said, we'll talk about a little bit more about my journey, but this is all that to say, this was the area where I felt the most pressure to have things figured out by 25.
So my journey is kind of similar to yours, Erin, where I graduated high school, went straight into pursuing my undergraduate degree. After I graduated with my bachelor's, I knew I was going to continue on with getting my master's degree. Everybody who pursued higher education in my family, they didn't stop at just their bachelor's. They kept going until they achieved their master's degree. And I felt like for what I went to school for and what I wanted to do in my life and my passions, I felt like it was going to be important for me to obtain that degree as well. Do I still know what I want my end-all be-all goal to be? No. But I feel like with every job that I've had and the experience I had through my graduate school program, I was able to kind of build upon that.
Yeah, so I kind of want to talk about this idea of, because I don't know if it was told to you when you were growing up, but for me, college was the number one choice. Plan A was college. Not my plan A, but my parents' plan A. It was, you're going to school, that's it. I want to be a singer. And don't ask me if I can sing, y'all, because I wanted to be Aaliyah. Aaliyah kind of, set the bar a little high for me, for your girl. So, I'm not a singer, but I wanted to be famous. And that was my plan A. I wanted to act and sing. And my parents were like, nope, plan A is college. So I went to college and got my bachelor's in psychology. But I think with them pushing college so much for me came this idea that was expressed to me by them and other people is like, you go to college, you graduate, that's all you need. As soon as you get that piece of paper, it's going to unlock all these opportunities for you and all these different things. And so I kind of want to ask you, like, were you told the same thing, and kind of like, how did you feel things kind of transpired after you got that piece of paper?
So it's funny that you bring that up because it was never a question of, are you going to college? I was always asked by all of my family members what college you were going to. So it was never an option for me not to go to college.
Interesting.
When I was a junior in high school, that became the number one question. So where are you going to college? I was never asked if I was going to college or anything of that nature. Now, I did get to choose my major. And by the time I got to high school, I had gone through so many things emotionally that I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew a lot of things that I didn't like. My mom was really, really great about exposing to me to a lot of different avenues. And although she may have not agreed with some of them, she still let me try them out. And I realized, nah, I don't want to do this. Nah, this is not my thing either. So I knew a lot of what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what I really wanted to do. So it's hilarious how I chose my major. I took a career test. I took a career test and it told me I could either be a clergyman or a journalist. A clergyman or a journalist. And I was like, I love Jesus, but I don't know if I'm at the point where I can lead a flock. So we're going to go with journalism. And so that's how I chose the university that I did, because it had a school of journalism. I ended up majoring in PR, which was kind of like really focusing on communications and being able to communicate on behalf of an organization or a company.
I had that reaction because I know what school she went to, and I'm like,
I wasn't going to say it. I was not going to say it.
Okay.
But I guess I went to the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas. Caw! But North Texas, we love. Yeah. Don't get mad because you didn't have that much school spirit. What were y'all, the pioneers? Pioneer people?
Well, it's Texas Women's University, only the best university in Texas.
I mean, I like Texas Women's University because it educated my mama. I don't have nothing wrong with Texas Women's University.
Come on,
but
alumnus.
I don't have nothing against it.
We have never lost a football game.
You've never been a part of a football game. You can't lose what you don't have.
We've never lost a football game.
Anyway, we're not getting ready to do this university rivalry right here. We both went to great schools
I went to a great school.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying. You see how she does me? I'm trying to be fair.
And my husband, the cameraman back there, went over there too. So
yes, her husband is an alumni of UNT. So I don't know why she's getting all rar.
I just had to say while I was like, oh Lord, but she was like, my school had a school of PR. Oh Lord.
And here I am over here trying to be fair. Oh my gosh. Here I am. Stop talking while I'm talking. Ooh. But here I am trying to be fair and let her know that we both went to great schools and she being petty. Petty Betty is who you are. I don't even know. I lost my train of thought messing with you. PR. I went to school for public relations and I appreciated the communication aspect of it. So I knew, even though I found out my senior year that I did not want to go and be a public relations specialist or a social media specialist, I did learn something from it. And so I think the way that I tackle how I find jobs, how I pursue jobs is thinking about what is it, something that I'm going to learn from it. And then also when leaving a job, asking myself, what are some takeaways that I have that I can utilize to move towards what it is that I want to do? And so I know you and I have had a couple of jobs over the last few years. And so I know one of the topics that we're going to talk about is job hopping, which is something that's pretty new because if you think about, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, they had a job and they stayed on that job until it was time to retire. Right. You told me that DJ's dad interned at a place and then he just got a job there and he's never worked anywhere else.
My husband is almost 31.
All his life, he's worked that job. Yeah. So with this new kind of phenomenon going around and we're talking about how you have to have it figured out by 25, just want to hear your thoughts about kind of job hopping. How did you feel about it? All of that.
So, kind of going back to what we're talking about, being told that all you have to do is get this little piece of paper and all these doors are going to be unlocked to you. I literally thought that was going to happen for me, and it did not. So I got my bachelor's in psychology. I don't know if I already said that, but and I had an advisor, a lovely advisor, that told me that you can't do anything with a psychology degree, with a bachelor's in psychology degree, except for drive a bus. So he's like, so what's your plan for your master's? And I'm like, I'm barely getting through my bachelor's, sir. And so I knew that he had already, that's literally how he started his advising appointments. He's like, so what master's program are you going to do? Because you can't do anything with a bachelor's in psychology but drive a bus. Like, that was literally his thing every single time that he advised somebody. And so I already had this mindset that, like, okay, I guess my degree isn't enough. And maybe I chose the wrong degree. But I was still determined to, I guess, like, beat the odds and still get a good job with just having my bachelor's, because I didn't know, especially with the fact that I was about to be a wife, like, I didn't know where I was on pursuing a career and like pursuing another degree, because I was like, look, that bachelor's was a lot. 4 years of a lot. And I don't know if I was just, I thought people were crazy for going straight through. So I was like, oh no, I'm definitely not going straight through. So yeah, so like, I just feel like I was trying to figure it out despite what was told to me, that I couldn't get a job. And so I had my first job at a nonprofit, and I did not want to work with kids, but that's what ended up happening. And it exposed me to the nonprofit world and just working with great causes, which led to another nonprofit job and another nonprofit job. I don't think I've ever really worked for corporate, but a lot of the jobs that I've had, I've worked for fast food. That was one. But a lot of the jobs I've had here recently have always been about a great cause. And so that's what really attracts me to like nonprofit work. But I also have, in a sense, job hopped and, staying at a place for like maybe like a year, or a little bit more than a year, and leaving. And so I think it can be this, there's people like me who say, well, that's going to look bad. And, I'm not going to get a job. And they're not going to want me at the company. That's so horrible. Like, I've only been there for like a year and a half. And they're going to see that training and think I'm like a horrible person and I can't keep a job and something's wrong with me. And then I have friends who are like, Aaron, that's the norm. Like, you gotta grow, or if something's not working for you, like, you gotta earn more money, or you gotta do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, in that mindset, thinking like how our parents were, of like, I have to have a set job, I have to have a solid career, and putting that pressure on myself. And when I didn't achieve it, and when I left a job after a year, I felt super discouraged and defeated, and I felt like my life was just a mistake, because I was just like, why can I not find a solid career? Like, my husband graduated with his bachelor's in music education. Our first year of marriage, he couldn't find a job in the city that we were living in, and he was teaching lessons. And then he taught lessons, and he worked at, I think, like the Boys and Girls Club. And then he ended up getting a teaching job at a school that was like a brand new, they were building the campus when they gave him the job. And so he's been at that school for like most of our marriage. And I'm like jealous of him, because I'm like, you've been at this school for like 7 years. I mean, he had 1 year off, but like, he's been at that school like his whole professional career. And I'm like jealous of him, because I'm like, why can't I find that for me? Like, why can I not find that? And so I've really felt like my career journey had been a mistake, especially because, again, I'm 30 and I'm still figuring out what company, what is my dream place. Like, I haven't found, I think where I am now is really great. But I don't know if it's like the place. But I'm still on that journey of figuring things out and figuring out what is my end all be all. And I get discouraged that I haven't found like that it'll be all like some people. Like I have friends that are nurses who love their job and be working at these hospitals or these clinics for like years. And I'm like, where can I find that for me? The teacher friends that I have that's been teaching for all these years and I don't, so I'm like, where did I drop the ball at? Did I make a mistake? Did I do something wrong? And I think it's because of that pressure that people have put on young people to pursue an education and get a good job. And then also seeing our family members having that stability and wanting that stability as well, and then not being able to achieve it, especially like most of my 20s. I'm like, I guess I'm doing this life wrong. And so that's kind of how I feel about it, that just somewhere down the line, maybe I dropped the ball and maybe I made a mistake somewhere, and that I'm just kind of like writing in pencil and having to erase it and writing in pencil and having to erase it because I can't find the dream place for me.
I think those are some great points that you brought up. One of the things that I've really appreciated about school districts is that they're now understanding that college isn't for everyone. And so with that, they're bringing in different trade programs, different other
Right.
organizations that can talk through other positions that might be available for students. Because sometimes, depending on your life situation, you don't have 4 years to give
Right.
at a university.
Right.
You have to get started now. So I think that's very wonderful versus when I was in high school, it was all about, all right, college readiness, college, SAT, ACT, let's do
Right.
it.
Right.
Woo, vouchers, let's go. Let me give you a bus pass so you can make it to your SAT, right? Things of that nature. But for me, I've had quite a few positions. Where I am now, I am in my second year, and that'll be the first time that I have been at a place for 2 years. I foresee myself reaching the 2 year mark. I believe so. We'll see what the future holds, but I am currently in my second year at that position. I started off when I graduated college. I didn't feel, with my undergrad, I didn't feel like I was prepared to go into anybody's workplace. Not only did I not know what I wanted to do, I knew that I enjoyed the communications aspect of my degree, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with that. And then also, I didn't feel like I was prepared at all. I didn't feel like me as this young little girl
Yeah.
who was about to move back home with mom, because mom said, you can come home. And I said, mama, thank you. I didn't think that I could be in anybody's workplace. So I went through a different type of program where I was a volunteer coordinator, and I was like, okay, awesome. I get to work with data. I get to talk to people. I get to teach people things. And then so I'm using that communication aspect of it as well. And I think I kind of just built from there, and I decided I wanted to go get my master's degree in public leadership with a focus in nonprofit management, because I really wanted to kind of stay in that span.
Yeah.
And so with every job that I've left for one reason or another reason. Of course, there's a vast number of reasons, but I always like to think about what is it that I learned while I was there.
Right.
So at some point, I didn't want to be a volunteer coordinator anymore because managing people is hard. Hurting unpaid people is hard. And I didn't want to do it anymore. But I loved the fact that I had all of these things that I learned from, I had 2 volunteer management positions. And I was able to take that and move that into kind of like a social services area as well. So then I was in the social services area, and I'm like, this is great. I love this. I even thought about going back to school to be a social worker, but I decided after getting my master's degree, I'm done with school until they find an alternative certification for social workers. Once y'all do that, I will 1000% be on it. Keep that in mind. I hope whoever's listening to this, hear my cry. But so, moving into that, but we know that that can be kind of mentally exhausting. So I've taken a step back from that. And so now where I currently am, I'm just a coordinator of programs, which has gotten me excited because I get to work a little bit more in data. And so I've really found my love for data. So I find that if I hadn't moved those jobs the way that I did,
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to build like I am right now. And now I found something else that I'm excited about. My family, I come from a family of educators. So everybody, they went to school and became a teacher. And that's a pretty linear path. I heard you talking about your friends that were nurses and that were educators. Those are very linear paths. You finish school, you go into a doctor's office or you go into a hospital. Like you
Right.
just choosing where you going to work, but you know what work you going to do. The same thing happens with teachers. You're choosing where you're going to work, but you know exactly what subject you're going to teach and what work you're
Right.
going to do. Not saying that both of those positions don't come with challenges, but it's different versus you and I that have these kind of broad degrees where
Right.
we have to forge our own path. And that can become difficult, especially for me when I was speaking with my grandmother. I was speaking really my grandmother more than my mom. And she'd be like, child, I don't understand nothing about this. I went to work and I was off on the summers and that's all I know about. And so I'm kind of trying to figure it out. I'm kind of moving through the dark, if
Right.
you will, because I don't have anybody to talk to kind of help me figure this out.
Right.
But also feeling like, all right, girl, you getting up in age, you can't stay with your mama forever, and so you got to get something where you can pay the bills, but also you don't want to be was it miserable.
Right.
You don't want to be miserable. So while some people feel like job hopping or moving from one position and not having that longevity might be a bad thing, I see it as growth, and I see it as something that I'm okay with. At one
Right.
point, I think at one point briefly, I was like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look too good because, like I said, I'm just coming into my second year. This will be the
Yeah.
first job I'll be there for 2 years. But thinking about what I've learned and how I've grown, I think it was necessary growth.
So you said something earlier that really made me kind of want to delve into something a little bit, if we have the time. You talked about like not being ready whenever you graduated college and had to get a job. And so it made me think about like going back to when you were in high school and they say, all right, we got to prepare you for college. Just like you said, like SAT, ACT, all this prep, college is the only way we're going to get you into college. And not really being equipped for that. Mind you, I work at a job that is so focused on college and career readiness where I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They had me take that class. That class was supposed to be for college readiness, and I didn't know. Like, I'm learning so many different things that go into that process and how maybe I could have been helped so much more as a student, and how not that I failed, but how the school system may have like kind of pushed us out and didn't like really prepare us for the things that kind of go into this readiness for college or career. So yeah, it made me think about just like, the process and everything like that. And so going back to what you said, like, not really being that prepared for college and being told that this is just the only way. And then also coming out of college and not being ready for the real world. I think that's another thing that's kind of going on top of the whole idea of job hopping. Like, are we ready to really be professionals? Like, I tell girls now that I may know, like my friends' kids that are getting ready to go to college, I say, hey, two things: get your degree, finish school if you can. And then also, I tell them to either network or I tell them to pursue opportunities for internship. I tell them, please, for the love of God, get some type of work experience, because I think that's the thing that I know I failed into, where I was literally focused on my studies and I was like, I'm not working. And there was no opportunities for internships or part-time jobs or whatever thrown at me at the university. It was just, I was just like, okay, I got to be a student and focus on my studies. And I didn't have that many things under my belt. So when I got out, I'm like you, like, I don't know how to work. I don't know how to be a professional. I don't know how to interview. Like I didn't know none of these things. I was just like a lot of things we talked about. Like now you're an adult, figure it out, figure it out, go get a job. Like I think I had a friend do my resume because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then I never practiced interviewing, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? You know, like that one question that nobody ever knows how to answer is, tell me about yourself. I'm like, I just got married. I got a dog. I like to color, go for walks. Like, that's who I
My
am.
favorite Netflix show
Right,
is.
exactly. I'm like, nobody tells you that they want to know about you professionally. And so I'm like, never prepared. I don't know how I've made it this far. I don't think I've actually learned how to answer the tell me about yourself question until I got the job that I just left from you. I never knew how to answer that question.
Wow.
I never knew. I got other jobs though. But I
Yeah.
never knew how to answer that question until I interviewed for the job that I just left with you.
Huh.
But yeah,
Wow.
so all that to say, you know, we're not that prepared. Maybe our generation, maybe this upcoming generation is a little bit more prepared. I don't know. But I think that we were just pushed into college and then pushed out of college and expected to have it all together and have it figured out when we graduated to be ready to go. And so that leads me into also saying my pursuing my master's, I felt like, okay, I like this nonprofit stuff. And I didn't pursue a nonprofit management degree, I guess, but I knew that I wanted to be in leadership some way. And so I admired the leaders that I had, and I knew I was a team player and I was all about a team and leading a team and helping people. And so I was like, okay, so how am I going to get into this leadership position? And I knew people that I worked with had their masters. Didn't matter what they had their masters, they just had their masters. And so I'm like, ooh, okay, so I guess I definitely need to think about this master's. And I pursued my master's degree in thinking that, again, once I get that piece of paper, this door is going to open up for me. It's going to be so great. And I started off trying to get my degree in license in marriage and family therapy. And I went to the school, started doing the classes, and I was like, well, if I do counseling or if I do therapy at the time, or marriage and family therapy at the time, people that were Black and brown still weren't really open to the idea of therapy. And so I was like, I'm not going to be able to really see people that look like me and really help those populations. And so at the time I was working for another nonprofit working with young girls, and a lot of the people that I was working with had social work degrees, or they were social work students, whether they were getting their bachelor's or their master's. And they're like, Aaron, like, you're so creative. Like, you know, you have all these ideas. You should change your major, your degree, whatever
Yeah.
focus it
Yeah.
is for at your grad level. They're like, you should totally do social work. And I'm like, I don't want to take people's kids away from them. Like, that was literally the first thought, because all I knew was CPS.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, I do not want to be the most hated person in America, you know, by taking people's kids away from them. And they're like, no, that's not what it is. It's this and it's that. And I'm like, and then I thought it was like everybody was doing social work, especially because I worked with so many social workers at that company. So I'm like, I don't want to be like y'all. So I was like, I don't know. And so I kept, you know, doing my degree, but I just kept feeling like, man, like I think at the end of this, I'm not going to be happy. I'm learning from a lot of white educators, which was fine. They were great. But I'm like, I don't see people that look like me educating me. And I don't think I'm going to see people that look like me in my services. And so I was like, okay, I think I got to, you know, change. And I looked into social work. I looked into all the different parts of social work that the school that I went to had. And I was like, okay, fine. I guess I'm changing my major to social work. And I went, because I didn't have my BSW. I had to do a 2-year program at the school, and I graduated with my master's in social work. And I graduated and was back on the job hunt, and things still were the same, unfortunately. So again, getting that piece of paper did not guarantee me a position. I also had a job soon after getting my degree, and then I went for my licensing exam and took my licensing exam, and I missed the passing mark by 7 points. And I'm like, what is happening in my life? Like, why? I'm trying, Lord. I done did the school. I done got some experience. I did school again. I studied for the test. I got the license, and I'm still having a hard time finding my way and finding a job. And so it took a lot for me to not feel like, again, that I was making mistakes, that some way, somehow I dropped the ball and life was just chaotic and I wasn't doing the things I was supposed to do with this adult life. And I'm going to shorten it and get back to what I need to focus on. But I think it really just took some time for me to embrace my journey of finding a career and finding a job. And I also recently went through another season of just challenge with trying to find a job. And God really had to show me, which is going to kind of lead me to my next point, that, you know, he had to ask me a lot of times, like, what are you chasing? What are you chasing? Like, what do you want out of life? Like, are you wanting to be this woman that is like this professional that's always busy, that's always doing these things, that does not have a social life, that is climbing to the top of this ladder? Or do you want to have a family? Like, it had gotten so bad with me pursuing these things that, like, I could tell it was weighing on my husband and I. And I feel like that he had to tell me, like, you have to make a choice. Like, I know you want to help people and I know you want to work with people and you want to have a good job and work for certain companies and work for certain causes, but you trying to achieve all these different things and put these things at a higher level. And, like, he showed me where I was and, like, the desires that I had. And he was like, if you get up higher, you're going to have to turn into somebody you probably don't like. You see it in other people and you don't like it. The only way you're going to be able to get up high here is being exactly like that. And I'm like, ugh. So I'm like weighing my pros and cons. He's like, or you can come home. I can find you a different place and you can still be able to have time to balance your family and your professional life. And so I transitioned, left that company and came where I am now. And he's showing me every day that, like, I can have my professional life, but also, for the love of God, Aaron, prioritize your family, because he gave me my spouse for a reason. We want to have children for a reason. And so I can be a professional working in the community and serving people in, like, a social work way, but I can also be a mom. I can also be a wife. He can use me in both aspects, and I just have to trust him with this journey that I'm on and not be so high strung, career driven to where I'm, neglecting family, neglecting friends, neglecting myself because I'm choosing to climb whatever corporate ladder or leadership ladder that I'm looking at to be this person that I feel like I should be to make me feel important and good enough. That was a lot, y'all. But it's been a journey.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
Yep.
Mine's a little different. I have I'm still at the same company, and I think for me, it's always not to move so fast. I think it's okay to have a waiting period to see what else I can learn from the current position that I'm in, and then continue to take with me. I think if I had left a little bit earlier, I wouldn't have found that love for data that I'm currently trying to embrace and pursue, which brings us into kind of our career dreams as we wrap up this conversation here. So I don't know if I really have a dream, but I take the experiences that I have learned from the different jobs that I've had, and I've built on that to see if this is something that I can do long term. And so one of those things right now is data analysis and telling a story through numbers, which I'm really excited to pursue. It was part of my master's program, and I enjoyed doing that. So I'm looking forward to amplifying that a little bit more.
Okay. I think I've noticed for me, especially in other places. I don't really get to do it now. So right now I'm in like a family engagement role, and I thought that that was something that I really wanted to do. I felt like family engagement was my jam. My thesis and my master's degree was on family engagement, and I think family engagement is really important when it comes to students' education and making sure that parents are involved in that process and can help lead their kids moving forward. But I also I recognize at another company that I have a love for program management. I really like to be the leader in services and making sure that people have what they need. And I also like to not necessarily train people, but I like to help people. I wouldn't mind teaching people. Like if I learn a job, I've learned in the past at other places that like if I learn how to do a job, I'm cool with teaching someone else how to do it. Like at the company that you and I worked at that we missed each other, when I learned how to be in the classroom with the kids, I wanted to be not the coordinator, but like the regional coordinator, because I was like, okay, let me be able to go shadow people at their schools and also kind of help them run their rooms. But that didn't happen. They only offered me the site coordinator position, and I was
Yeah.
like,
We're not
no.
getting into that. That's
But
going to be
yeah.
a whole nother hour.
But yeah, but like I learned through that company and through another company that I like teaching people and supporting people. And so I'm at this toss up between like program management and then also, like I said, still doing family engagement and education and supporting families and students. But I do know at the end of the day, I see myself being out in the community, like literally being in the community. Like I see myself walking with people, talking with people, visiting people. Like I see myself being a part of a community and loving on people in that community. And I also see my children there. I see my husband there because even now, like at all the jobs I've been to, my husband has come to job functions and things like that. So he's always been a part of the journey. But I also see myself coming back home and being present with my kids. So I value flexibility now in a career. I value peace, mental peace, and I value growth. Growing opportunities where I'm always learning, where I'm always being developed and I'm not just stagnant. I like being considered, my thoughts being considered, my work being considered, being commended for what I do. So I think I have more values when it comes to a job and and also how that job lines up to my personal goals. But also, I'm not pursuing that ladder as much as I was in the past. So I think my dream job has to match my dream home life that I want.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I want to end on that note with saying this scripture came to mind as, like I said, the journey that I'm on right now is really trying to prioritize my family life and my personal life when it comes to work versus, I guess, like work versus home, especially as being a wife and an aspiring mother. So the scripture that I want to read for today's podcast is Colossians 3:23 through 24. So it says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. And so just want to encourage you all that whatever you do, whether you are a nurse, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a social worker, a janitor, anything, work on to God. So everything you do, put in so much effort that you are serving God. Serve people well, serve the places that you're in well, as you are serving God and not man, because I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to be good for the boss, be good for the team, whatever, which is fine. But those things come up empty, and so the lasting impact that we make in this world through our work has to be God centered and God focused. And so do your work. unto the Lord. Make the Lord happy. Do it for him and watch him bless you in all your endeavors.
And it's also important to remember to continue to do work on yourself. So
Right.
asking yourself those questions of what do you want and what do you value along while you're doing the best that you can in the current position that God has blessed you with.
Right, right. So with that being said, that's the end of the episode. Thank y'all for joining us. Bye.
Bye.